And we're back to Van Nationals Prep, video number 7, 8. No, I think it's like 3 or 4. I hope you guys aren't getting tired of these. This is what I got to do right now. I'd like to be working on the other projects that have been sitting here, like the wagon I said, and the pickup, the Toyota, even the Volkswagen. I haven't really said much about it, but I have to get some stuff done on it. I want to get that out on the road this season. It's really just an axle that's making some noise, and I want to throw some new coilovers on there. But right now I did, like I said, I was hoping to get the driver's side header off. I was able to get that off. Surprisingly, all the bolts came free. Some of them were loose. I probably should have just tightened them and then test drove it to see if that exhaust leak went away. But I bought the new hardware. I bought the gasket, so I figured might as well take it off and do it right. You know, I want to paint them too because they're kind of gross. Not sure if you can make it out, but they're pretty nasty. They were, I think, cheaply coated at one point. I don't even know what brand these are. I don't think they're high quality or anything like that. But I'm gonna paint them with that white VHT flat white paint, header paint. This one I'm gonna leave on for now, simply because we're getting close to the trip and it's not leaking over here, so why mess with it? Why take the chance? I'm sure all the bolts will come out easily of this side. I think this side will be a little bit more of a pain. I'll have to take the plugs out like I did on the other side, but I think I have to drop the starter in order to get this out, because you can see the one header tube is pretty close. A couple of them are pretty close down there to the frame rail, and then also where the doghouse seal meets. They went in, it'll come out, but I'm just gonna leave it for now. No one's gonna notice that one header is white and one is rusty still, unless you poke your head under the van. So I got that out. Like I said, I'm gonna clean it up the best I can. I got some good degreaser, metal degreaser from, I think it's Eastwood. I bought a while back. It's really good stuff. And then I'm gonna Scotch Brite it as best as I can, and I'll have to look at the can. I'm sure you have to coat it a certain way, and then there might even be like a heat process to make sure that it bakes on. And yeah, that's it. I got the transmission fluid draining from the pan again. I did put it on dry last time. Use the rubber cork gasket, and someone said it on here. A couple other people said it. I saw it online. Some people have. It seems like with the transmission pan gaskets on these, turbojet 350s, TH 350s, whatever the proper terminology is or name. Everyone has different experiences with sealing the trans pans, so it's really just kind of finding what works for you. I bought a new gasket, cork rubber composite. Like I said, I'm going to use the rubber or the RTV transmission fluid specific sealant this time on both sides of the gasket. And then someone said, a guy I was at his house the other day. He used to sell performance parts and stuff like that. And I'm seeing if I can find the gasket stuff. But he used to sell like all the chrome dress-up stuff, diff covers, trans pans, oil pans, all that stuff. And he said with the chrome stuff, mine's aluminum, the trans pan. But he said with the chrome stuff, to take like a Scotch Brite, like the little disc, I call them cookie disc grinders. They're not for grinding. It's just for like scuffing up surfaces. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But he said to use that on the surface just to kind of like mar up the surface of the pan itself where it seals, to give it a little bit more of a tooth to seal. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to apply it, let it sit overnight, and then wait. And I can't find that the sealant, but I'm going to let it sit overnight. Oh, there it is. And I'll add the trans fluid the next day. I'll give it at least 24 hours for it to dry, and then I hope that's it. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to add trans fluid at every gas stop we make out there. So that's the stuff. Permatex. I didn't think you were supposed to use any sort of sealant on trans pans, just because how touchy transmissions are and how clean everything has to be, especially when you rebuild them and stuff. But I'm not going to go crazy on the gasket. I'm just going to do a thin bead around, spread it out, and then torque it down to the spec. It's not much, so just enough where it kind of oozes out a little bit, and then hopefully that fixes these two issues. And then I'll jump on that door. I want to get that pin, the hinge pin fixed, and then that should be it, at least for this one. Maybe a couple of other little nicky-nack things, and then I want to do the motor mounts on the Dodge. So I'll get a couple of short little clips of me painting these. I'll show you what I bought, and then I'll show you it installed, and then I'll test drive it and cross my fingers it seals. So there it is. Cleaned it up as best as I could. I don't know if this paint that I have, the VHT flame-proof paint, is going to stick and last without flaking off. We'll see. I knocked off as much of the old ceramic coat. I think it's ceramic coat. I knocked off as much as I could while I was using it wasn't Eastwood, it was actually Pour 15 cleaner degreaser. I had that left over from a project. But I used that with combination of a red Scotch-Brite pad while I was kind of just scrubbing it down. So I knocked off as much of it as I could. Hopefully it lasts for a while. This thing doesn't see winter and it sits inside, so I'm hoping it lasts. And yeah, like I said, I'll do the other side when I get back from the trip. But I'm going to let it sit out here, bake it in the sun a little bit, and then I'm going to try to get the coat of paint down on it tonight, and then it should sit overnight. And then I looked at the back of the can, and yeah, there is like a procedure as far as like letting the vehicle idle for 10 minutes, and then letting it sit for 10 minutes, and letting it idle for 20 minutes, letting it sit for 20 minutes, and then taking it out on like the highway for a little bit. So hopefully that does the trick. Most importantly, hopefully the new gaskets I have seal it, and yeah, I'll show you how it looks when I'm all done. So there it is, freshly installed with new gaskets, hardware, and flat white header paint. I don't know what it is about flat white headers, but to me it just screams performance. I feel like that was the thing to do in the 70s and the early 80s was, if you're installing long tube headers, paint them flat white. I always like the look. Eventually, one day I'll get side pipes on this van, and I would like to go with flat white side pipes. I've seen them on other vans and other vehicles from back in the day, and I always thought that looked cool. Even as a kid, when I was building model cars, and even today when I build model cars, I always paint the headers flat white and the side pipes flat white too. I think it just, I don't know, something about it. But yeah, got it installed. Wasn't too difficult. Most of the bolts are accessible. If anything, the most pain was putting that one, I think it's cylinder number 3, the boot on the spark plug. I have to run those heat blanket boots for the front 2 cylinders on the driver's side. And that one's always a pain. Even when I change spark plugs, it's always a pain to get that one boot on there. But yeah, I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna have to let it sit overnight because I did the transmission pan again, and I'm letting that sealant cure for 24 hours before I put trans fluid in it and take it out. And I will get some footage of the test drive. Hopefully that noise, that exhaust leak goes away, because it was just annoying on road trips. I mean, it's normally at higher RPMs, and right when you get around 60, 65, that's when you would hear a constant high-pitched noise. And the other side, when I get back, I'll do the other side, because it does, I mean, you can't see it from the engine bay, but underneath, it bothers me. You see the one freshly painted white header, and the other one is still rusty. So, yeah, like I said, I'll get footage of test driving it, and then we'll see what else I throw in on this video. Maybe working on the Dodge a little bit. Man, if that doesn't get you going, I don't know what does. So right now I'm seasoning the header paint right now. That's a term I learned from the Ocean Gate documentary. That guy was a fucking nut, huh? I don't know if you guys watched that, but I just watched it with the wife on Netflix, and he used that term about seasoning the hull of the submarine that inevitably sank to the bottom of the sea. But yeah, I'm seasoning the header paint. It said idle for 10 minutes, and then sit for 10 minutes, and then idle for 20 minutes, and sit for 20 minutes. So I'm letting that happen right now. I'll throw the doghouse on it, and then I'll take it for a ride. Hopefully there's no exhaust leaks, and hopefully the transpan seals. I let it sit for 24 hours. It says to let that silicone sit for 24 hours and then fill it. So I just filled it right now. And yeah, hopefully that's it, because I'd like to move on to the next project. I threw a new battery into this. It was just it was just a little lazy on startup. So I was like, yeah, we're going on a road trip. I might as well throw a new battery in. It was from 2019, which isn't a long time, but still a good amount of time. I checked the sticker on the battery on this, and it said 2016. And I know for a fact this thing was being abused on the side of a street, like I said in one of my earlier videos. So God knows how many times the battery in this went dead and then jumped and jump started. So I'm gonna probably get a new battery for this, but I'm gonna let it sit idling for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna take it for a test drive. Trucking now. high-pitched noise was always high up in the RPMs, especially around 55 or 60. I think we got up to 65, so I'm definitely gonna have to I'm gonna drive it a little bit back and forth from work and do some errands this week, and then I'll go back and I might snug up those header bolts again. That's what they recommend, but I think that fixed it. So that's going to be the end of this video. Next one will probably be me working on the Dodge a little bit. I want to get some more of the interior done, and then hopefully the motor mounts go smooth, because the one, I think, is the passenger side. There's nothing left. So I'll see you on the next one, and thanks for tuning in.